Hello, welcome to the Outspoken Artist. My name is Giancarlo. I am here at Imaging 2024 with Carol DeAnda.
There you go.
I know it took a few tries,
It's
but I
okay.
got it.
It's okay.
I
It's
got it.
been a long few days.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing great. Congratulations. What achievement did you get?
So I got my Master of Wedding Photography degree yesterday, which was really cool. And I was a first-time speaker of platform here at Imaging.
Congratulations.
Thank
How did
you.
your class go?
It went really, really good. Like it was great. Like I was really nervous at first because it's a really big room. But within 5 minutes, everyone laughed at the first joke, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, I can relax now. And I can't wait to do it again.
What's that process like to speak?
So I had started submitting to speak a few years back, and basically for every conference, it's a little bit different. For imaging, you're basically submitting kind of like a little bit of a written application, and then a video and a headshot, and you're just trying to tell them what you want to do. And also, I had done some Super One Days from PPA, so I've done that, and I've talked to some local organizations as well. So I at least had a little something underneath my belt, and they picked me. Like it was really cool. Felt
That's
really
cool.
good.
What did you speak about?
I spoke about family photography, crafting the perfect family photo experience. So it's basically more or less how to make your photo sessions successful with families, which is like only like 30% about your actual photos. It's more about like how you work with clients, what you do with clients, and just like setting that up for success. When I started, my pictures were rough. It was like 2010. Some of them are pretty tragic, but I still work with some of those same families now. And when you look at the difference between the two, it's staggering, but they stayed with me the whole time because of the experience. And that's kind of what I wanted to hammer home. So it doesn't really matter how pretty your pictures are. I mean, you want to be, proficient, but it's really in everything else that what counts.
What's the experience like with you?
So basically, it's a lot of communication. It's a lot of preparing my clients for everything. It's knowing their names.
I really messed up the name a few times.
Screw it. Yeah. But like, you know what I'll do? And you could do this too, although you don't have an Apple Watch. But basically, on my watch, I'll kind of flip it up and I have everything on my calendar. So if I forget someone's name, I just go like this and it tells me their name because I sync it to my Google Calendar and it goes right to my phone.
I knew her name, okay?
He did. We've been hanging out the whole
Yeah.
time, just giving him a hard time. Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry. It's a long night. We were out really late, having a good time.
Great karaoke. Great karaoke.
Secret karaoke.
Secret karaoke. We can't speak about it
We
except
can't.
that it was great.
It was
And
really
her husband was awesome.
He was.
Killed it.
He did.
Killed it.
He
We won't
did.
say what
He
he
did.
sang, but he killed it.
It was good.
It was good.
Yeah. But
But
yeah.
outside of the speaking and everything
Yeah.
else, tell me what was your first expo experience?
So I think my first big conference was actually, well, I went to WPPI on the road. So they used to have like WPPI, but in other states. So it's kind of like a mini conference where they had like 6 platform speakers speak, and then they had like a mini trade show. So that was like my first exposure. And then the next year I went to Imaging USA in 2012. And I just remember walking in and I was like so overwhelmed. And like people were wearing all these things around their neck, like these little tassels and like bars. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I didn't understand anything. And then you go in the expo and the imaging expo. Have you been to other expos besides
Just imaging.
just imaging? Okay. So this is literally the best expo there is. Like it's the biggest. There's the most amount of vendors. And then you go to any other expo and you're like, okay, all right. Okay, there's a few people. But like this, like if you want to see something, this is where you can literally see anything.
Do you have any memorable moments of either imaging or other expo in your time span that you've attended them?
Yeah, so it's actually really funny. So I was actually in a line. There was Texas Schools. They had a booth, and I was talking to a girl that was behind me in line, and we're talking, and I found out she lives 20 minutes from me. So like that's pretty crazy, all the way to another state. And we became kind of fast friends. I met everyone. And we have a community network school called PPA&I Northern Illinois. And because of like just this chance encounter with them, I became a member of PPA&I. I'm now on the board. I actually have I'm our speaker selection kind of person. So I bring all of our speakers in, and it's really been awesome, all from this chance encounter at Imaging, miles and miles away from home. But I run into someone who's basically in my backyard, and they're like my second family now. So it's
So
really cool.
what keeps bringing you coming back to imaging?
My friends. Like these are my friends. Like we're kind of lone wolves. Like we sometimes work with other photographers and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I recharge. I get to hang out with my friends. It's a business write-off. Let's be honest. That and just like the education is great. But seeing all the products, like there's so many products out every year. And if I were to order every single one I wanted to see a sample of, it would cost a lot of money. So coming here, I can actually touch and feel the ones I'd like. So then I know what I want to order for samples for clients. But just hanging out with my friends. So it's awesome. It recharges me for the year.
Outside of the speaking, do you offer any other education?
So I'm just starting to get into to that now. I'm offering some mentoring. So if people are interested, they can contact me directly. Mentoring specifically on a lot of families, family photography, kid photography, headshots. I can talk about too, as well as weddings. So right now, I just am doing that. But I spent a long time making my presentation. It took me like 50 hours to make this keynote. Right. So there's a lot of slides that I actually left out. Some of them, like, they took me like 2 hours to make these little video graphics and putting them in like an iPhone and making it look good. And you think it's going to take 2 seconds, but then it takes like an hour and a half. So I made all these additional things that it just didn't fit in my program. I thought 75 minutes would be forever. No, it went like this. It went really, really fast. So I have all these things that I made that now I don't have anything to use for. So I'm going to start offering that. I have a Facebook group online that I'm going to be sharing some of that stuff with. Yeah, but that and mentoring, my Facebook group, all good places to find me, and so they can get more information.
Awesome. For your class, I know for the ones that I've attended, there's usually a Q&A session.
There sure is.
What were some of the more common questions that people kept asking you?
I think the most, it was actually one of the people in my local organization. They actually thought I put plants in the audience because the questions were actually really good. Like sometimes you get really crazy questions, but they were all pretty much related to the program. They were like, how do I show albums? Because I mentioned in my class that I really, really love albums and I build albums on spec. So after their shoot, I actually build them a sample of an album and send them a proof. So people had questions about that. They had questions about pricing. And just kind of how my process works. I'm more of a hybrid photographer. No shade to IPS. It's just not for me. So I talk to my clients through the phone through the process a little bit. I show them the products in person. So just questions about how I structure that because a lot of times people who don't IPS, they just think of you as a shoot and burner, and I'm not because all my clients actually do get albums, prints, and other products through me without the extra time of doing in-person sales. And especially, I live an hour outside of Chicago. And a lot of my clients are in Chicago. So having them come back to my studio, which I do have right by my house, to the suburbs, not going to really happen with them. So just questions about how I work that process in my business.
I've been doing photography for a while.
Oh, yeah?
What is IPS?
In-person sales.
Oh,
So
wow.
basic, yeah, it's okay. It's an abbreviation that like some people just don't know. But basically it's like, you photograph them and then they come back to your studio, usually for a reveal, or they have to order there in person with you. No shade to it. There are some very, very successful photographers that do it. Like Jen Lewis is a good friend of mine. And she kills it. Like she almost makes me want to do it. Like almost. But no.
Yeah. Okay. And I get it now.
Yeah.
I get it now. Tell me a story or a time where maybe they've already had a photo session done by somebody else, or it's their first one of a family that when they see what you did, they were just wowed or changed by the experience.
Think here. So I've had some families where I'm a little more expensive, right? So they used me once and then they tried to go to someone else. And then the very next year they come back and they're like, yeah, that was a big mistake. Because the thing is, it's like working with children and being a people person, like when you're a photographer, unless you're doing like landscapes or real estates or things like that, like our main job is interacting with people and being good with people. And sometimes some artists are a little awkward. So it's like the number one thing you have to do is be able to work with people. And even if you're the best photographer in the world and you can't connect with kids and be silly and make silly sounds and make yourself an ass, like you're not going to get the expressions and you're not going to get the images you need because you're just not able to bring yourself there. So I think that's the biggest thing. Cause when I had a client, like I said, that went with someone else and then came back, they're like, yeah, they were cheaper, but the photos sucked. Like they didn't know how to connect with my kid. My kid looked scared and frozen, deer in headlights.
They
And
look like that
yeah,
old
like,
painting.
like cheese,
They
cheese.
retract back.
Yeah,
Ah,
exactly.
that's the
Yeah.
worst.
Yeah.
That's
Not
the
good. Not
worst.
good. So
Um,
yeah.
you also mentioned headshots.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about that side of your.
Yeah. So I actually that's how I met Gary actually. So he taught Creative Live, I think it was in 2016. And I had known him from imaging because I saw him speak, I think in 2014. And I he had a podcast at the time, Photobomb podcast was favorite podcast. And he said he was gonna be on Creative Live. So I like him, like, hey, I'm a Photobomb podcast listener. Any chance you could help get me on Creative Live? And whoever it was either him or Bure messaged back and they're like, done, and they contacted me. I went to Seattle all by myself, um, with no one. So this was very scary for me. And I sat through his 2-day course at Creative Live on headshots, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like, I really want to add this to my business. Like, I love families, but I also wanted to include something in my business that I could do Monday through Friday. My husband, he works well. Now he works with Gary, so he's literally working all the time and all the time. But before, like, he would have weekends off, and I'd be working on my weekends. So with headshots, they kind of allow me to shoot like Monday through Friday a little bit, which I really appreciate. It gives me a little more flexibility on my weekends.
Nice, nice. And if for anybody looking to start in the family market, what are, let's say, some top 3 tips you can give them?
So top 3 tips, especially if you're just starting out. So for someone who's never done photography before, or maybe just has a little bit of a background, um, work for a company for a little bit. I was hired by Bella Baby back in 2009 when I was 19, and they had just opened. They were in one hospital, and they do in hospital portraiture. And I was able to photograph 5 days a week, shooting multiple families, multiple babies, and there's no better experience you're going to get than constantly working on your craft. So I actually think that working for a company for a little bit and really getting used to working with people and constantly having shoots, because when you start out, it's sometimes hard to get shoots. Even like a model call, like your friends finally get sick of you, like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. So I always tell people, like, work for a company for a little bit. Like, work under them, learn what you like that they do, and then learn also what you don't like, and then take it from there. So I think the number one thing is don't be afraid to apply for a job working for someone else when you're starting out. Um, Also networking, like, I network a lot. I try to go to a lot of things. I'm also very active in like weird networking things. Like, I joined, do you know Orange Theory Fitness?
Yes.
Okay, so I go there, I'm a member there. I've had, I think, like 15 or 20 clients now just because I go, I talk a little bit about what I do. I didn't lead with that. Like, I actually really love Orange Theory Fitness. But you just talk to people and you get to know people. Like, put yourself in situations where you can meet new people and do things you enjoy. And those people will then like you and want to work with you. So, yeah.
No, that's great. That's really great. Um, Completely separate question.
Mhm.
If you could become an expert at anything, like instantly, what would that be?
Expert at anything. So, like, non photography related, even.
Like Matrix, like
Matrix.
food.
I would love to be a gymnast. I think, like, how they flip and everything, like, I was in tumbling for, like, 1 or 2 class before I got pneumonia when I was a kid, so I learned how to do a somersault. That is all. I still can't do a cartwheel, but I think it's so cool when they're, like, running and flipping and jumping, like, I think that'd be really, really cool.
That'd be pretty cool
Yeah.
to have that capability. I've always wanted to do a backflip.
It'd be so cool.
Like I can only do it in the water.
But can you imagine if you could do a backflip, like, if you were to ever go to, like, a karaoke thing just
Oh,
in the middle of the dance?
I
Like,
know.
that'd be really
I
cool.
know.
That'd be really cool.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I can see Justin doing that.
Maybe he can, maybe we don't even know. I mean, after after last night, I don't what else does he have hidden? I mean,
Like,
we've
who
been
are you?
I know, 9 years. I didn't know that was in him. I know him pretty well.
The power of karaoke.
Oh my god. If you've never done karaoke, like, even if you don't think you wanna go do it. Like, it is so much fun. You learn so much about your friends
You
or
do.
your husband or
True.
wife or whoever. Yeah.
Years down the road.
So
Do you have a quote saying belief that you live by that you instill in yourself or others?
be kind. Like, when it comes down to it, being kind to people and being nice and, like, being negative. I know this sounds really stupid, but, like, not being stuck in a negative mindset is huge. Like, crappy things are going to happen to everyone, right? But it's just what you do with that. So if you're going to let it ruin your day, you're going to let it ruin your day. You're probably going to let it ruin other people's days as well. So just remaining positive and just be kind to people. Be kind.
Just be kind.
Be a good human.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Carol, are there any questions I should have asked you that I didn't think to ask you?
I think that's it. This
Do
is.
you have any questions for me?
Where are you from?
I well, I was born in Venezuela,
Okay.
then came here at 11 to Florida,
Okay.
lived there for a while, and
Where in Florida are you at?
Now I'm in Central Florida, north of Tampa.
North of Tampa.
So I'm
Okay,
on the
cool.
opposite side of where Gary is. So
Okay,
Gary's in
cool.
the Orlando area, sort of, and I'm on the other side, north of Tampa. Been there 20 something years
Oh,
now.
you've been there a long time then.
I'm a Floridian, so I'm in that county where you hear news of Florida man, Florida woman does
Oh,
blank. 9 times out of
yeah.
10,
It's your town.
it's my county. And I'm
That's
not surprised. I'm like, oh, okay, I know where that is.
that's a good claim to fame, though. I mean, it's like, I'm come from Florida man land.
I'm not like I hear it. I'm like, yeah, it
Yeah.
happens. That's where I'm from.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And what has been okay, one more question for you. What has been your favorite state you have traveled to?
Favorite state? New York, way
Okay.
back when, because I went by myself
Hmm.
and I had no itinerary.
Okay.
And I decided to just get one of those Go Pass things that you
Okay, cool.
buy
Yeah, yeah.
and checked out a bunch of the obscure museums that were a part of it. Things that you would never check out because they're like, pay $60 and you can do all these things.
I
Well,
always hear about those
I
things too.
did everything.
Was it worth it?
Some of them were awesome. Some of them, what the hell am I doing here? They're like, go check out the Statue of Liberty. Well, at that point, the ferry was closed. So I'm like, oh, hello.
I'm hitting things.
fine.
I'm hitting things.
So New York was pretty cool. I
Okay.
don't know how it is now, but back then, I think that experience, I decided to go to Chinatown, but not where everybody was going. I
Right.
went a block or two where nobody barely spoke English.
Oh.
And there I'm walking.
I
And
feel like you're in another country.
yeah, it was.
That's
It
cool.
really was. People,
Does every major city have a Chinatown?
I believe they do because I was in California
And they have one too.
and I went to Koreatown and that was
Oh.
awesome. Karaoke everywhere. It's like literally boom, 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 boom.
Very
And
cool.
I took I think this is more of my favorite place I went to. It was Koreatown in Los Angeles because I was driving and I went to all like the art district. I found Skid Row. I was like, oh, Skid Row. All the tents were there. And I was amazed. I was,
I found Skid Row.
then I get to Koreatown and I'm there and it's just karaoke. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to a karaoke. And
Yeah.
I wasn't even that good back then.
Oh.
And I'm gonna go check it out. I'm gonna go sing. I found this one place and it shows on the wall, so and so has sing here, artists, like
Really?
true artists. And I was like, damn, this is great.
That's
I'm like,
cool.
okay, let me see what I'm gonna sing. And then I hear the people that go on stage
Were
and
they
they're
good?
literal artists. Like these guys could be Grammy winners. And I was like,
I was in Orlando with Gary at the beginning of the month and we went to a karaoke place. And it was like kind of like where we went where it's like it's not private karaoke, it's open to the public. And everyone was just so good. And I'm like, come on, guys, we need some people that are kind of sucky in here. But everyone was amazing. And it brings karaoke to this different level. Like you almost like to have it's like, okay, maybe I don't want to do it. But yeah, it's crazy when people are actually good and they're almost using it as like an open mic night in a
it
sense.
changes. It changes. But yeah, I think honestly, I take it back. It was Koreatown in Los Angeles.
That's really
that was
cool.
my favorite place.
That's cool. I've never been to Los Angeles and I've actually never been to New York,
Yeah.
which is crazy. So the first time I ever left Chicago was actually I went downtown Louisville. So I went here. And have you been to downtown Chicago?
Yes, actually, many years ago.
Okay, so it's crazy, especially in the loop. So I remember I got here and it was the weekend and I'm like, so where are the people? Like, where is everything? And it's like when you live in a big city, it's so different if that's all you've ever known to go to another big city and then be like, oh, you could just walk across the street and not get hit by a car. Like, this is amazing.
It's nice. It's nice. Well, Carol, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Again, congratulations.
Thank you so
Forward to
much.
seeing what you do, and I'm sure I'll catch you somewhere.
I'm sure we will. All right, bye.
Bye.